Now at 5, an injustice corrected more than a decade later.
I don't really have the words that articulate how helpless of a feeling it is.
After a man spent years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Plus, local protests continue against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
I think people are absolutely furious. They were told this wouldn't happen again.
And later, the I-5 bridge project is one step closer to breaking ground after the Coast Guard helps clear a major hurdle. Thanks so much for joining us here at 5. I'm John Adams. A man wrongfully convicted of murder in Oregon has been compensated by the state. Scott Cannon spent 11 years in prison and after getting out has spent even longer trying to see justice served for his wrongful conviction. Jake Holter joins us now from the newsroom with that story. Jake?
Yeah, John, after years of lobbying and litigation, Cannon received nearly $1 million from the state, and he says perhaps even more valuable, a certificate of innocence.
How do you get your life back? How do you get your time?
In 1998, Scott Cannon was arrested for the murder of 3 people, a crime he did not commit. He was convicted in 2000 and sentenced to 3 life sentences after at one point facing the death penalty.
That's absolutely nerve-wracking, having people decide your fate and knowing that there was so many different instances throughout the trial itself where the prosecution was taking liberties with the facts.
One example is the prosecution's use of, quote, comparative bullet-lead analysis, a forensic method the FBI stopped using in 2005 and has widely been declared unreliable. But during the trial, Cannon says the prosecution told the jury that the analysis meant there was a 1 in 64 million chance they had the wrong guy.
It was not disclosed prior to my trial that they had consulted with State Police Crime Lab and were told that bullet-lead analysis was a buyer beware testing and that they wouldn't do it.
After getting in touch with an expert in the forensics field while incarcerated, that got the ball rolling to Cannon's eventual exoneration in 2009. Afterwards, the fight began for Cannon's justice.
Oregon had no law on the books whatsoever that even allowed a person to claim compensation for wrongful conviction.
After lobbying for years, the legislature passed the Oregon Justice for Exonerees Act in 2022. And this week, Cannon was compensated and issued a certificate of innocence.
Being the second person in Oregon to get a certificate of innocence, I'm pretty sure more people in Oregon won the lottery.
That certificate, he hopes, will help him rebuild his life. Going forward, Cannon says he will continue to lobby for more legislation to help people who have been in his position.
There's more to be done, and I have hope.
Cannon says he wants to see improvements made on the Justice for Exonerees Act and a bill addressing discredited science used in wrongful convictions. John?
Yeah, hopefully this will be a first step toward closure for him. Jake, thanks so much for that report. We continue to follow the renewed wave of protest against the government's immigration crackdown. Local groups gathered downtown at Terry Shrunk Plaza. They say to stand against the Trump administration and to call for ICE to get out of Portland. One organizer says after the deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis, plus the Border Patrol shooting locally, the urgency for city leaders to act is greater than ever.
People are pissed. People are upset. And this has led to a lot of people jobless, a lot of people being deported, a lot of people scared for their life to go outside. And it's not living up to what the American dream is.
Meanwhile, the woman shot by a Border Patrol agent in Southeast Portland last week made her first appearance in court Friday afternoon on immigration charges. Yorlena Zambrano Contreras is being held on a criminal complaint out of Texas, and prosecutors say she illegally entered the U.S. in 2023. Dueling protests were held across Minneapolis today after the government sent more federal agents their way. It caused chaos at times in downtown as the groups clashed, trying to drown out each other's messages. Overnight, a federal judge ordered agents to step up using pepper spray in detaining and pulling over peaceful protesters. The former director of ICE under President Obama criticized the current ICE operation underway in Minneapolis.
This idea that ICE agents and Border Patrol agents would be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, confronting protesters, shipping tear gas at them. We never in a million years had situations. We never let things get so out of control that we'd be sitting there trying to do immigration enforcement operations with huge crowds heckling us. We just wouldn't set up our operations in a way that would ever allow that.
Multiple sources tell NBC News that the Justice Department is now investigating Minnesota's Democratic leaders for conspiring to impede federal immigration operations through their public comments. Okay, turning now to our weather here locally and taking a live look outside. We had a beautiful mid-January day across the Portland metro with blue skies and mild temperatures out there, but not exactly the weather. Skiers and snowboarders are looking to help bring more snow to the mountain. Corey Johnson has more on how long this current weather pattern is going to stick around for us. Hey, Corey.
Hey, John. Yeah, beautiful is exactly the word to describe the weather that we had today. And honestly, that's going to continue as we get throughout the evening hours and the rest of the weekend. So taking a look at our Rose City camera, we're just under 10 minutes after sunset. Beautiful day that we've had so far, 43 degrees and pretty clear for us. Our temperatures right now sitting in the mid 40s across many stretches. Many stretches only got to the low 50s, upper 40s for our highs today. 51 in Portland. It looks like 37 currently in the Dalles, 47 in Salem, and 53 near Astoria, near the northern Oregon coast. This is our Vancouver camera, the springs at the waterfront. Another beautiful day in Southwest Washington. The Oregon Zoo, I'm sure, saw a lot of visitors as well, because today was a good day to get out and do some outdoor activities also. So throughout the rest of the evening, honestly, this is what you can expect to see. A whole lot of nothing in the way of clouds and fog. We do have some beautiful temperatures on the way for tomorrow as well, but the fog does return as we start the new work week. I'll break down the timing of everything coming up.
All right, Corey, thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Developing out of Hood River, police are searching for whoever shot a person early this morning, then ran away. It happened just before 2:15 at an apartment complex off Highway 30 west of 13th Street. Officers found the victim was shot multiple times. They were taken to the hospital, and detectives asked for witnesses to share what they know. A messy scene in northeast Portland this morning. Portland Fire and Rescue had to pull 2 drivers out of their cars after they crashed at Northeast Colley Boulevard in Alberta. Both were taken to the hospital and are thankfully expected to survive. An update and a big step forward around plans to build a brand new I-5 bridge, with the Coast Guard signing off on a fixed span over the Columbia, saving the project some $1 billion. Though, as our Catherine Cook reports, the new crossing is still billions over budget, with a major deadline looming.
While the $1 billion savings is big, a draft document released earlier this month suggests that the total bridge project price tag could still be as much as $7 billion over budget. Still, project leaders will take the wins.
We've heard lots of congratulations today and excitement.
After years of setbacks and challenges for the Interstate Bridge Replacement Program, Friday brought a major win. The U.S. Coast Guard signed off on a fixed span design rather than a drawbridge, meaning no more bridge lifts.
The decision by the Coast Guard has given us basically a green light to remove the red light on I-5.
Carly Francis is interim program administrator at IBR. She says the fixed span design not only moves the program forward, it saves $1 billion. But bigger challenges remain. The project appears to be less than half funded. Draft documents released last week estimate the total project cost at $13.6 billion. With current funding, that leaves a $7 billion deficit.
The price tag is incredible for the project. And when are they starting?
My main hope is that something is done before it falls down.
IBR's goal is to break ground by September. Doing so would ensure they retain nearly $1 billion in federal grant funding. But if the full project is only 50% funded, how would that work? Francis says the $6.5 billion they have now should cover what they're focused on first, building the bridge and the approaches.
That will facilitate starting the program, and then we'll continue to work on funding over time to complete the program.
The next step is the federal environmental review. That's dragged on for years because they were basically waiting on whether this would be a fixed bridge or a drawbridge. And now, with the Coast Guard's decision, they're one step closer to knowing that answer. In Vancouver, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Well, check this out. Tonight, more than 70 new trees are taking root in urban neighborhoods surrounding the MLK corridor of Northeast Portland. Friends of Trees teamed up with the Portland Parks and Recreation Urban Forestry team to teach student volunteers how to properly plant those trees. They say this area is one of Portland's most heat vulnerable areas, and they want to plant as many trees as homeowners there will allow.
It helps moderate the climate. It makes things cooler for people. It is obviously oxygen. We all love oxygen. And it helps clean the water that comes in from runoff from streets and houses.
This backyard on Northeast Graham Street is expected to look like a mini forest once those trees grow. This is the second year for the community planting event held on the Saturday before Martin Luther King Jr. Day.